Okay, so plan for the day is we did two psukim this week. We did 2014 on its own, and then we did 2015 on its own, and we started analyzing the Metzudas David in 2015. So let's start with that, and then we want to do the Mefarshim that connected to. Okay, so the pasuk 2015 says Yesh Zahav V'Rav Pninim Uchli Yakar Sifsei Da'as. So we had two translations, and I think what I'm going to do is just stick with the one that Mishlei David is going off of now, just to not confuse us. So Yesh Zahav Rav Pninim, there is abundant gold and pearls, he said, right? But lips of knowledge are a kli yakar, right? So are a precious vessel. So Mishlei David, bottom right, Yesh Zahav, Hine Yesh Ba'olam, Dai Zahav, V'Harbe Pninim. So there is in the world enough gold and lots of pearls. In Cain, if so, Fo'il V'Yesh Harbe Mehem, since there's a lot of them, Ein Behem Chashivas Kokach. They're not so distinguished, they're not so important. Aval Sifsei Das, Heim Kikli Yakar. But lips of knowledge are like a precious vessel. Rotze Lomar, Kelim Hasuyim Me'avne Yakar. They're like vessels that are made out of precious stones. Shehachashivus Rav Behem, which have a tremendous prominence. Mitzad Atman, intrinsically, meaning I guess because of their value, their objective value, umalechas tavnisan, and their craftsmanship. V'hima devarim she'ena mitzuyim, and they are things that are not common. So we said on this basis, I said on this basis that like when he says kli yakar, think a precious, valuable artifact like the crown jewels or like what's the biggest diamond in the world? The Hope Diamond. You know, well, that's a natural diamond. That's not craftsmanship. So whatever. Crown jewels is the only example I know. Okay, crown jewels, the Aron HaKodesh, you know, something like that. So according to Metzudas David, he's saying basically you've got a lot of gold and pearls, and yeah, they're valuable. So according to him, what's the quality that they lack? I mean, he says it kind of explicitly, but they don't lack value. But chashivus, right? So we have to figure out what he means by chashivus. They lack prominence because they're abundant and they're lacking in the beauty of the craftsmanship and the specialness of the object. You know.
Why are they lacking in the craftsmanship?
Because they're raw materials, whereas the kli yakar he's learning is like something that's made in an exquisite way. You know, so like.
I thought they make like a diamond or a jewel.
So I think back then they didn't. You know, I think they just like. I mean, I don't know if they had the technology to do that. Mm-hmm. But it sounds like he is using examples of like just gold as a raw material, and the pearls you don't make; they're natural. You know, like. You're not like assembling them into some other like greater entity, you know.
Right. I feel like also maybe he's just saying there's no inherent value in those things, rather than inherent value in like knowledge.
So it's possibly he's saying that, but I feel like the fact that he's using valuable items. Well, let me put it this way. Sorry, you're right in terms of the nimshal, in terms of like there being inherent value in knowledge, but in the mushal, gold and pearls are valuable. It's just that they're common, you know. Yeah. So interestingly, the two nafkamina cases here would be, let's say you had let's say you had mass-produced kli yakar, you know, so then that would diminish their chashivos, right? Or if they were not crafted in an exquisite way, then that would also diminish their chashivos. Because it's like, those are the two things that give them, so, okay, let me go back one more time. There's three things that give a kli yakar chashivos. Or sorry, that make it significant. One is it is made of intrinsically valuable stuff, but in that sense, it's no different than gold and pearls. They're all valuable. But then there's the fact that the kli yakar is rare, and then the fact that it is exquisitely made. So if it weren't rare, it would lack those chashivus, or if it weren't exquisitely made, it would lack those chashivus. So that's now what we have to transfer to the das thing. So how is das somehow partake of those qualities? And also, what is the das being compared to? I mean, you know, it almost sounds like a triple comparison, because he's saying Zahav and Pninim are here, Kli yakar is here, and then Das is either, I mean, I assume he's saying Das is better than Kli yakar, but Das is like, you know, in that category. Das is like comparable to Kli yakar, but it's like better, presumably.
And how are we translating Kli yakar?
Literally a precious vessel, but like, or a precious object, you know, but like think, you know, some sort of like gemstone studded product of niceness. Yeah.
Everybody knows?
Yeah.
Are those two things related somehow? Those two qualities of the Kli Yakar? Because they seem like just two random things. It happens to be rare and it happens to have, a function.
Right. So it sounds like, wait, are you saying, when you say function, are you going back on our scar from yesterday?
I guess I was just thinking like that it's intrinsically valuable because you could do stuff with it, but maybe that was a false assumption.
I don't think he's learning that way. It's possible he is, because again, like we said, Kli is a very, omni-comprehensive term. But I don't see, let's put it this way. I don't see him highlighting that quality, right? He doesn't say that it is useful.
Wait, so then I guess I'm confused. Why does it have intrinsic value then?
Because it's made out of gemstones. It's made out of Avnei Yakar.
But isn't that a natural resource, just like gold, like a natural amazing thing?
That's how I'm learning it. I'm learning it that like in other words, like this. If you just had a pile of Avnei Yakar, then it would be the same as gold and pearls. But then you take those Avnei Yakar and you make them into something beautiful. So that's the craftsmanship. And the thing that you made is rare. And so that's the two qualities that are beyond the intrinsic value.
Okay, got it.
Yeah,
I missed
and
that.
in terms of your initial question about like what do those two have in common, it does seem like what he's calling chashivut comes from the two, and that's what I was trying to highlight by like the nafkamina cases. If you had a ton of, when you like, here's an example. When people, I assume that this is like that this has been the case ever since wedding rings became a thing. I assume no one who goes into a wedding ring shop to buy a wedding ring wants to reach into like a barrel of identical wedding rings and pick one out. Meaning part of the perceivance of the wedding ring is it is unique. Now it might not actually be unique, but it's perceived to be unique, So even though it's made again, I guess that's a good example to work with. Even though it is exquisitely made and intrinsically valuable, the uniqueness is a feature of the chashivus. Yeah.
Yeah, but when I was buying an engagement ring, it had a bunch of individual rings on display, and like I thought that they had exactly like one of each.
Yeah,
that's like the impression I got.
Yeah,
and then when I was actually getting one, then they looked in the back, because they have apparently many identical ones.
Yeah,
they come the same thing.
Yeah. Right, but they don't show that to you. They don't show that because that would diminish.
Yeah, and that would totally change like the whole.
Right.
Like,
Yeah. All right, we got the facts. Any clarification or summary needed? Okay, so now what's the idea? Well, let's start with the obvious idea. Sifsei Das, whatever that is a rarity, and it's intrinsically valuable, and it displays exquisite craftsmanship. Okay, meaning, and maybe this is okay. Maybe one of the questions we had yesterday is why is it not just Das? Why Sifsei Das? And we didn't know what that was exactly. But if you think about it, so Das is intrinsically valuable, right? Having knowledge is intrinsically valuable, and that's kind of like the premise of Mishlei, that like no matter what you want to do in life, and that's also the idea that I think the Kuzari says for why Atakonin Ladam Das is first, is all other goods are dependent on Das. You can have a ton of money, but if you don't save it or spend it with Das, you're going to lose it. Or if you're pursuing fame or you want to be a serial killer, or like anything, Das is going to help you. So Das is intrinsically valuable.
Right.
Okay. Sifsei Das, though, I can see that being an analogy to the exquisite craftsmanship that, you can have people who have knowledge, but not everyone knows how to express the knowledge or convey the knowledge. We theorized yesterday. Well, I theorized yesterday that this is about teaching, and were there other theories that were, I feel like Zev, you had something, but I don't remember what it was. Oh, you were saying, to get people to see you as a chacham, and I was saying that I didn't see evidence for that in the pasuk, but maybe I'm more inclined to that now that we're going with the idea of like see, okay, all right. I forgot if I rejected that on the basis of the Metzudas David or before we did the Metzudas David, but with Metzudas David, I'm warming to that idea a little bit because he does say Melechas Tav Nisan, like people admire the thing, you know? So it could be like the reputation of knowledge, you know, like an eloquent speaker of you know, someone who can convey knowledge eloquently. And then the scarcity is going to be both because knowledge itself is scarce and then the ability to like convey it is also scarce. But now the question is like, what's the idea though? Like, I think those are the elements. Does that make sense in terms of the elements, like, or at least possibilities? Let me say it again.
Yeah.
Okay. So we had 3 qualities in the Kli Yakar. It's made out of valuable stuff. It's made well, and it's rare. So with Sifte Das, the valuable stuff it's made out of is knowledge. And that's, we don't have to explain why that's valuable because it's valuable in every area. The exquisite craftsmanship is the fact that you can articulate it eloquently or effectively or whatever you want to say, you know? And then the fact that it's rare is the fact that that it's rare. I mean, the fact that like it's hard to come by and like when you see it, you appreciate it much more because of its rarity. You know, again, I think in terms of teaching, you know, like, and when I say teaching, I'm saying that in the broadest sense possible. Like when you hear a really good, a well-crafted proverb, you know, I don't know if this is one of them. When you hear a well-crafted proverb, then it's like, wow, I can't believe they conveyed that in such a perfected form. You know, it doesn't have to be in like teaching in a class, you know, like, or someone gives you like advice, you know, like it could be a Sifte Das in that sense, you know.
So are we saying that the rarity is the ability to express it, or it's the knowledge itself, or it's both together?
I think it's the both together. Yeah.
So I'm not saying how it's both together. Like knowledge. Like you're saying,
Right.
like the ability to perceive that knowledge is rare.
To
like,
convey it, to
Right,
express it, to Sifte Das.
It's not just fact.
Right. Yeah. It's not just fact. It's someone who has you know, I'm assuming it's like a deeper knowledge of some area, like whether it's Mishlei or whether it's, oh, that's the other thing I meant to mention. This could be in Torah, it could be in Mikveh, it could be in like your craft, it could be in, you know, whatever,
right,
psychology.
So then it sounds like to me we're saying that it's the ability to express it that's rare.
Not
the knowledge itself.
Yeah, I mean, I'll answer tentatively here. Gold and pearls are, on the one hand, common because they're more common than Kli Yakar. But they are also like rare, like, you know, like you don't just have like 3 feet with gold, you know? So knowledge is rare in that sense, in the sense that like most people don't have knowledge, but there is enough of it out there that wouldn't be noteworthy. Like gold and it wouldn't have chashivus, meaning
right, on its own.
Meaning it has value on its own, just like gold and pearls have value, but it has no chashivus because there's gold everywhere and there's pearls everywhere and there's knowledge, you know, like it's out there, like, you know, it's out there. But when you see something that is like the crown jewels, you're like, wow, this is a one of a kind thing. And there's nothing like this in the world, you know? So when someone speaks knowledge eloquently, it has that chashivus. It's valuable and it is perfectly designed and it's rare, and that all contributes to this like awe of it. Yeah.
Can we say that Sifte Das is a person who has lots of knowledge as opposed to an articulation of knowledge?
Yes, you could say that because lips have to be attached to a person.
Yeah.
You know, like it doesn't say Imre Das. It doesn't say statements of knowledge. It says lips of knowledge. That's true. Yeah.
And so
it's the ability to
And so like, you know, with like gold and pearls, it's like they're rare, but if you want to like if you want to get them, you know where to find them.
Yeah.
You know.
Right.
They can just like they're common enough that they're hard to acquire, but you can get them.
Yeah. Right.
But when you encounter a piece of like exquisite craftsmanship, you need to get this item or you're just not gonna you're not gonna be able to replace it with them.
Yeah.
So like when you encounter Sifte Das, then that's something valuable that's like, you know, unique.
Yeah.
And you have to like get it then or like
You know. Oh, so this is something we didn't. I don't think we asked this of who's the audience and what's the practical purpose. So, so this could just be an advertisement for Sifte Das, meaning that you should acquire it, but I feel like it would need to supply a motive for it, and that might be what Zeb was saying. But
I was saying that if you encounter someone who has Sifte Das, then you should cling to them.
Mhm.
That's
Right.
what I'm saying there.
Okay, I see. So it's for the listener.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely true.
As opposed to when you're saying you should acquire it, you're talking about acquiring that quality.
Yeah, like
yourself
wanting to be a
to be able to
speaker,
do it.
wanting to have Sifsei Das. Yeah, yeah. The listener thing does make sense. Hmm.
And did you guys get to the part where you're trying to connect those two
Not yet.
to each other? Or
No, I just want to think about this a little bit more.
Okay.
Trying to see what feels unpolished. Use a gemstone muscle. I think my problem with it is it doesn't feel like a chidush. The chidush is in the. I mean, I feel like the territory is chidush territory because I have not thought about these three qualities before, but I'm not getting the chidush from the Mishlei David. Like I feel like there needs to be a chidush in application that's more than just cling to Sifsei Das. Now that might be. This is this is a slight disagreement that Ken and I have had as of late, which is how much of a chidush do you need from Mishlei? And I definitely like. I acknowledge his position that like he feels like you don't really need you don't need the type of chidush that I'm always looking for, you know, like some revolutionary idea, you know. And I agree that that's the case. Like Mishlei is written for the Pepi, the Nar, the Chacham, and the Navon, you know. And I guess what I'm trying to get out of it is a Chacham or Navon chidush. You know, right now what we have here is good for a Pepi and a Nar, you know. But I feel like I want a greater chidush. So should we move on and I'll let you know if I have a greater chidush?
You also can maybe get a greater chidush from the conjunction of the two chickens.
That might be true, right? Okay, so let's now revisit the previous pasuk. Just get the facts, and then we're not going to work on the two together. I think because it's the last Mishlei of the week, so we'll do. I mean, we're not going to work on our own together. Let's just look at them apart. Yeah. Okay. So the previous pasuk said, "Ra yomer hakone, the ozelo azit halal." So bad says the buyer. Okay, this is imagine like a marketplace. The ozelo, and he leaves. Then he will, and there's machlokes here. Then he will praise himself, or then he will praise the object. Okay, without going to the ideas that we went into last time, because I don't want to like prejudice us. The pshat is it's a commonly used bargaining technique, right? You're trying to haggle with a guy, so you devalue, you degrade the item, and say, oh, this thing is like it's scuffed, it's like bad craftsmanship or whatever, you know, and craftsmanship, and then you and then the guy sells it to you. And then you go and then you either praise yourself like, I got a good deal, or then you praise the object because you weren't really degrading because you thought it was bad. You were degrading it to get the price down. Yeah. And so the approach we took last time focused on the fact that that Mishlei is criticizing this as a negative thing, even though it's a very common thing, you know. So now, if you combine the two psukim, okay, so there's two ways to read the combination. One is that this is the content of his praise, okay, which is how the Targum read it. Okay, the Targum says, okay, so the Targum also had another thing. Chavra lechavre neymar diknes v'hedin nishtabach name. Okay, I don't know the Aramaic grammar. Well, okay, so he said one friend says to another. That was a weird thing. But neymar diknes says one who bought. The Haydain's the word I don't know, Nishtabach, and they praise Neymar saying, I think it's they, I think, the East Dahava Vasuga de Kefe Tavasa, Umane de Kara Sifvata Diadiata. That there is gold and abundant pearls that are good, and precious vessels are lips of knowledge, meaning that they're saying this about, like, I guess the
object that they bought.
The object that they bought. Yeah.
How does that make sense?
No, I don't know.
though?
Yeah. Well, let's just go to the Rabbeinu Yonah. Yeah.
I had a way of reading it. Not necessarily targeting
Yeah.
it, but just with the saying. With
Okay.
the saying what's being the quote.
Okay.
That the person is calling their bargaining techniques das.
Right. Yes, that would be another way to do it. Yeah. Yeah.
And so
Meaning, when he goes around, he praises himself, saying, "I had lips of knowledge." Like, there's a lot of gold out there, but like, I had lips of knowledge, and that's the real tool. Like, that's the real vessel, you know, or tool, not vessel. Yeah.
And that's the mistake he's making.
If we're learning this as a negative, then that would be like an elaboration on what's bad about this. Like, somehow the fact that he's praising himself for having lips of knowledge, for like degrading the merchandise to get a better deal, then that's like somehow being criticized here.
Because it's not really lips of knowledge.
Good question. I don't know.
He thinks that he is recognizing real flaws, and that's why he is able to get a good price.
Oh, does he? I thought he was doing this consciously of like, he knows that these are not real flaws, but he's just trying to drive the price down.
Actually, wouldn't be praising the object afterwards if he actually.
Well, the praising the object afterwards is the machlokus about how to read Yit Halal. Like, either he's praising himself or he's praising the object.
And if he's praising himself, then it could be that he actually felt like the object.
Yeah, it could be, right? It could be, yeah. Now,
got the right thing.
right.
Yeah, I mean,
and on the baseline, like, clearly the object is not bad enough to the point where he doesn't want to buy it. Like, he does buy it, you know?
Right.
Yeah, and so I'm saying, so maybe he's praising himself for having like insights into, you know, the badness of things.
Yeah.
Whereas really what's going on is he's just trying to just lower the price, and he's not like conscious of that.
Right.
Also, just in the framework of saying that like this is a mistake, like he's like praising himself, saying like this was chidush, but like he's actually making a mistake. Like in the same way that it's a common bargaining tactic to like the buyer to like try to like lowball the price. It's also a common, I don't know if bargaining tactic is the same term that applies, but like for the seller to like overrate because he knows that the buyer's gonna like bargain.
That's true. Right.
So like he's walking away thinking I got a great price, and the seller's like, that's exactly what I wanted to do.
Right.
And like you're thinking you used like some crazy knowledge and like you really got your way.
Yeah.
But like no, like that, like, and I guess that'd be tied to the next one, right? He's saying like don't make that mistake. Like no, it's actually rare and it takes at least three things. That we're saying. Yeah. And like you didn't do that here.
Right.
Like,
yeah, that's a good point also, right? So that would be saying another angle from which it's not chidush, because this is, you know, the other guy got, the other guy got you in a way. Right. Yeah. Okay, let's take a look at Rabbeinu Yonah, who says, Ra Ra Yom HaKonev Azalo Aziz Hala on the next page. Gam Acharei Kain, Asher Yizke B'mekaho, even afterwards when he merits his merchandise, meaning when he like gets it, Yigane, meaning after he buys it, okay, Yigane v'yachis erech hamekach bifnei hamocher. Oh, this is a different set of facts. Yeah. Okay, so he's taking it literally. Ra Ra Yomar HaKoneh. So we were saying Koneh means like the guy who is in the position of buyer in the transaction. Right. Reno is saying the guy who actually bought the thing. Meaning, let's say you're the merchant.
Yeah.
So we thought it was when I am trying to buy your mug from you, then I'll downgrade it so that you'll lower the price so that I'll buy it. Okay. But he's saying now, I bought it from you, and then I'm going to degrade it.
After
I've already bought it.
Why?
The question is why, right? So let's see if he says, right? But that's what he's saying. Gam acharei kain asher yizkel b'mekach. Even after he's zoche to the thing he purchased, you're gonna be up these erech hamekach. He will degrade and diminish the value of the merchandise bifnei hamocher, in front of the seller. V'ozalo, and then he'll go on his way. Kasher yeles lo, when he goes on his way, v'yata milfnei hamocher, and then when he goes and leaves the presence of the seller, yishalal v'ishtabech b'mekach. Then he'll praise himself over his merchandise. The Indian pasuk hazeh davak al haba acharav, and this is connected to what is afterward. So let's see if he explains himself. Yish zahav ra pninim kli yakar chidush. There is gold and precious pearls, or abundant pearls, and precious vessel is lips of knowledge. Kli yakar mikol kli zahav pninim. Okay, so he's also going with the idea that the kli yakar, the kli is more yakar, is more precious than gold and pearls. Chidush, and that is the lips of knowledge. Ki hadas yikre min hazahav, yakara min hazahav pninim. Das is more precious than gold and pearls. Alkain, therefore, klei hadas Yikarim mikol kelim. Therefore, vessels of knowledge are more precious than all vessels. Klei hadas. Is that like your mind? Like faculties of knowledge? Let's go with that and see what happens. Klei das, haim sifse das.
Your ideas.
Yeah, the ideas. Are you saying that in an
Talking about your
omnicomprehensive fashion?
ideas.
Sorry, say
Of
that again?
course.
Oh, of course, yeah. Uklei das, haim sifse das. So the vessels of knowledge are lips of knowledge. Rotzalomar, meaning to say, kasher yargil adam spasav shelo yidaber davar ad asher yishkalena b'mosne hadas v'musar. Okay, so what does it mean? You train yourself to only speak after weighing it on the scales of knowledge and musar. Okay, so it's sifte das means that you think about what you say before you say it. Okay. That is the quality of the person, like Isaac was saying. It's not just like valuable statements, it's a person who speaks with knowledge. And it brings this idea in conjunction with the matter of the person who of the buyer who degrades and diminishes the merchandise in front of the seller after he buys it. Even though he knows that its worth is more than the silver, that he gave, than the money that he gave for it. So sorry, I was spacing out when I read that. Even though he knows that its value is more than the money he pays for it. So in other words, even though he got a good deal.
Yeah, he gets a bargain and he's like, oh, this is not worth it. Yeah,
right. Okay. This is not a wise, knowledgeable derech. Okay. Why should a person lie for no reason? And speak falsehood for no purpose. What you were asking, right? He bought the thing, right? And not only did he buy it, he got a deal on it. What does he benefit from degrading it? And lying for no reason. And deceiving the seller for with no help and no benefit. Falsehood is abhorrent. Therefore, therefore, you should not use falsehood for something that neither helps nor hurts. Therefore, or indeed, what? I don't know. Is that what the footnote says? No. Yeah, fine. We're not going to do that right now. So therefore, before, it's the way of the world that before you make the purchase, then you degrade the thing. She's ratzu hamocher, so that you appease or I guess you appeal to the seller, that they appeal to each other, they appease each other, meaning like they find a what do you call it? Like a medium. Compromise, yeah, right, medium. There's bad musar in degrading the thing after buying it. Because it's good in the eyes of the seller when it's good, when the merchandise is good in his eyes. The seller wants to see the buyer happy.
Right. I mean, he's still not explaining why this is happening. Like, it still doesn't make any intuitive sense. So, he's just elaborating on the fact that it doesn't make any sense.
Right. So let's do this.
So it's like the guy's like trying to like complete the picture.
Right. Meaning because he was downgrading it beforehand, he's
like maintaining the position that he feels locked into.
Yeah.
And then, but he's
even though it's over.
Yeah. I'm going to take a note from Rabbi Moskowitz and let's not analyze why the guy's doing this yet. Let's just analyze what the consequences are and what the idea of the pasuk is saying about it. So according to Rabbeinu, let's just review it really quickly. So it's saying that the premise here is that it's the normal way of bargaining to degrade the merchandise before you buy it in order to get the price down. And then afterwards, you're like, handshake, good deal, smiles all around, because like you got the price lower and the seller sold it to you and like you're happy with it, and you're not going overboard in the degradation of the thing, right? But then what this guy is doing is after he buys it, he continues to degrade it. That makes the seller feel bad because the seller wants the customer to be happy. And not only that, but the seller even like got like kind of short-ended here, right? It's like the buyer got a good price. So and now the seller is going to feel like, oh, I didn't get the price that I wanted for it, and this guy is like degrading my merchandise, and he's not happy.
What was the point?
What's the point, right? And this guy is, according to Rabbeinu Yonah, this is reflecting the opposite of sifsei das, right? So sifsei das is when you weigh every statement with on the scales of knowledge and musar, and then you speak, which if this guy did that, you realize there's no point in just lying and going along with this, which might be why the motive doesn't matter. Meaning, if you just weigh it, you'll realize that like this is just not like, why am I doing this? You know, like there's I just watched an episode of Arrested Development the other day. I mean, it's not going to mean anything to anyone who doesn't. I'm not going to go into it. I'll tell you afterwards.
Maybe it's something that
no, yeah. Yeah, this is a weird thing also. Like, why is he emphasizing sifsei das through this very particularized negative example, you know? So, I mean, I know we don't have a lot of time, but like right away, just one idea we get out of this is like, people make statements that if you just stopped and analyzed it objectively, you'd be like, there is no point in you making the statement. You're only doing something bad. Like, it's bad for the seller and its relationship. It's bad for you because you're cutting yourself to lie. And as all of Mishlei tells us, like, lying is bad enough already. It's certainly if you're lying for no reason. And that's, you notice the way that Rabbeinu Yonah talks about lying, you should only lie if there's a good reason, you know, which is like a very Mishlei way to like relate to lying. Like, you know, like, and as we saw from Rama and Bakiyos, there are times when you should lie, you know, but according to nobody should you lie when there's no reason for it, you know? So the person is just finding himself like being propelled along by the momentum of whatever, like whether it's like what you said of just like, in order to to bypass the guilt for lying, I have to like double down on the lie, or like I have to complete the picture in the eyes of the mocher, and like he gets too caught up in the Metzudas David element of like, I have to like make this guy, I have to like fully follow through with the claim that I made, you know? It's just like, he's being carried by momentum, some inner momentum or outer circumstance, and not actually like evaluating the statements.
I feel like it also sets a very low bar for like what the thing dot actually is.
Yes. Yeah, right.
So like then like I feel like we can present the argument that like, okay, so like any relatively smart thing that's expressed relatively well by anyone can just be something.
It's not even that. It's not even good expression. That was how we were learning from Mishlei. It's just saying something that you have a reason to say.
It's not a lie.
And just not like spouting it, you know?
I think Sifsei das is the middle there.
Right.
That's what you're
saying we need to say.
Yeah.
Right.
Thinking about what makes sense to say it.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and maybe that's a little bit. I don't know. I'm experiencing a little bit of busha here in terms of like, I'm sure there are lots of times when I'm just like saying stuff that is being carried by the momentum of the conversation or by my inner momentum, and just not weighing it. You know, like, and that thing, by the way, the weighing it, which is a very common muscle for speech. Like that, I don't know. It's a good muscle because it's like, stop. Like if you had to weigh something in real life, what are you doing? You're stopping, like putting the thing on the scale, looking to see whether it is the way it is. You have to do a sacred pause, right? And see if it is the weight that it needs to be, and then you speak. You know, so that's really the practical outcome of this pasuk is weigh what you're going to say. And then say it, and then realize that we just say stuff without thinking in really dumb ways, you know, like this case here, you know, like.
But I think also like what you're saying, like it's very possible that you're saying things that are just like the momentum of the conversation, and like you're not weighing things actively. Yeah. Like my understanding is not weighing it doesn't automatically make it that like it's something that doesn't need to be said, or like you can be saying something that makes total sense and you're just not weighing it, and just the momentum of the conversation is carrying you to say things that make sense.
Right. But now you know it though, because you weighed it, you know, or you have firmer knowledge. You never know 100% like whether it's going to work or not. I think I quoted this anecdote in, I don't think I quoted it here, but I think I quoted it in a Stoic Jew podcast episode, that this guy was interviewing Ruth Bader Ginsburg, like the year that that was this year. She died, right? This year? Yeah. That was like before she died. And he was interviewing her, and she was old, you know, and she was old and she was sick. And so he noticed that she was very, very slow, you know, like to respond to his questions. And he said during the interview, he had these worries like, is she senile? Like, is she like, you know, and then like he talked about it with someone who was her age, who like knew her for a very long time. And the guy was like, no. She's been like this since she was in college. She thinks before she speaks. And she's one of the only people I've met who like does that, you know, and like it is a very interesting thing to. I had one teacher like this in graduate school who would, when he heard a question from a student, would stop and wait a full like at least a beat before even acknowledging the question, just to let himself think about it. And it was a very evident thing that like you know that he was weighing stuff, you know. So yeah.
I'm also having a Busha moment because there's something where I'm going to be vague.
Yeah.
So there's something that
Well, Zev, you have to go, then go. We're slightly over time. Yeah.
Okay.
There's something that talking with someone about, and like basically I have to like not share something.
Yeah.
And like it's unlikely to come up in conversation unless I bring up a particular topic of conversation, and then like people are going to ask me about it.
Right.
But like I keep having this drive to like talk about like bring it up as a topic, and then like I have to like, you know.
I know exactly how you feel. Yeah. All right. So even though, so what we just, let's just end by stating what is unresolved. So we still need an idea for the Metzudas David, or we need not an idea. We need a chidush for the Metzudas David. We have an idea, you know. Chacham or not chidush. And then for Rabbeinu Yonah, we got an idea. The only thing that is unsettling is how weird of a focus this pasuk is. It seems way too specific in the pasuk 14 and way too broad and weirdly stated for pasuk 15 for this to be an idea that like I would not get this at all in a million years from the pasuk, you know.
Right. Yeah. I guess I'm not sure how 15 even like points to this idea.
Well, this guy clearly doesn't have such a das.
Yeah,
I know. It's weird, right? Yeah. And that's the other thing also is like he expresses it. Rabbeinu Yonah expresses it in the negative.
Yeah.
You know, but the positive seems to be talking in the positive. So it's weird. Okay, that was an interesting couple in there.